All right, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Tiverton Town Council Monday, June 22nd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Comito.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Present.
Councilor Janik.
Present.
Councilor DiMederos.
Present.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Paul.
Present.
Councilor Perry.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Would any councilors like to remove any items off the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Councilor Janik.
Yes. D4, D5. And Dave's not here. I just had a question about...
He is here.
He is here? No, not that Dave. Dave Roberts. I had a question about the abatement, but that's fine. If
Okay.
he's not here, I'll talk to him later.
All right, any other councilors? Otherwise, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus D, 4, and 5.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, unanimous. Councilor Janik.
So D4 is a request from Adam Raposa regarding reducing the speed limit, and he had actually emailed us a while back, and it ended up going to the administrator and the police chief, and they were supposed to look at doing an investigation, so I'm not sure why that would then come to us, if they've not completed their investigation or if they're going to do their investigation.
So, if I may, the administrator's not here, and I guess our police chief is preoccupied at the moment, but I can give you a little bit of backup.
Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Raposa would like to see the speed limit reduced on Carpenter Street. However, there is a process that needs to occur. That process is currently ongoing. The police have the mobile police unit that's recording all the data, and because it is a request to do a speed change, that would be referred first to the police department or the police chief to make a recommendation. So he's collecting the data as it stands now.
And then it will come back to
And then
us.
if the chief wants to reduce the speed limit, it would come back to us, or if the data supports that. Councilor
Right.
DeMederos.
And I just wanted to bring that up because I don't want people to think that make request and we just kind of blow through it.
No, the administrator did reach out to Mr. Raposa directly and let him know where we stand in the process.
Okay.
Councilor DeMederos.
This might be a foolish question. I think I know where Carpenter is, but can someone explain to me where it is?
Almost Fall River.
It's like off Bismarck up
State Street.
way at the top of North.
Oh, that's not where I
Tiverton,
thought it
like near
was.
State.
Yeah,
You take
please.
a left at the North Tiverton package store.
Oh, all right.
Take a left, and it's a neighborhood that runs, the street runs north to south, just
And they're
off
speeding
of...
there?
He
He said that they're speeding, and he's concerned for his children and, or the children in the neighborhood, and pets on Carpenter Street.
Yeah, I
People
see
are
that.
speeding through.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're addressing it.
All right, next item, Councilor Janik.
And then this is another request for a study from Dave Sylvia, and we need to refer this to the police chief, as it says, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That was all.
All right. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items D, 4, and 5.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We do have a number of people signed up, so I would ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. First up on the agenda is VA Lopes regarding a budget and flock. Ms. Lopes.
Documents I'd like to submit to you all. I apologize. I didn't staple because I have a 10-year-old and I had a stapler once upon a time and now I don't. And then that's the Constitution. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
VA Lopes.
If you just got to put the button on.
Sorry, guys. Weirdly, not my first time at the rodeo, but apparently today. VA Lopes, 267 Deer Run Road. I'm obviously here to talk about Flock. The two things that I'm handing out to you, one is Flock's patent. and 2 is the U.S. Constitution. I highlighted a page on Flock's patent that shows that they do, in their patent, include biometric tracking. So height, weight, clothing. It's figure 5A, and there's a little orange sticky by it. For you guys who have it printed 2 ways, you're going to see it on the other side. And then the 4th Amendment to the Constitution. My concern here, obviously I'm concerned that Flock is promising that very sensitive data is being protected. And the reality is they can't execute a contract properly, which makes me very concerned, and how that contract was executed. I work in healthcare, very highly sensitive data, privacy challenges, lawyers look at everything I touch. It's equivalent to me as a private citizen signing a contract for your EHR, which you guys would not like. And so that's my concern there. And all I'm asking is, like, let's pump the brakes, because I don't think a lot of people understand data. Once these images are captured, they can go into anything for biometric tracking. I've done it myself for internal things for the body in my job, and we just need more legislation and guardrails around it. And so that's what I'm asking today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Ivy Hall, same topic. Name and address for the record, please, Ms. Hall.
Hi, Ivy Hall, 487 Bulgamarsh Road. I am also here again to discuss Flock. I work at Brown University. I work with contracts all day. I read them. We also work with lawyers. I work in the finance department there. The 4th Amendment is what is at stake as far as I'm concerned. Protects individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, requiring that warrants be issued based on probable cause and specifically describe the places to be searched and the items to be seized. It is a key component of the Bill of Rights ensuring privacy and security in personal spaces. Having a mass surveillance system in this town is not acceptable as far as I'm concerned, being a taxpayer. Anybody that is driving through town, this isn't about a single person. There isn't, it doesn't matter whose name was on the contract. The way that contract was written is completely inappropriate. It's violating trust along lines through the town, through the taxpayers, and you have transparency and trust on display for everyone to see here and on camera. I'm going to piggyback VA and say that I think that we need to pump the brakes. We're sandwiched between Little Compton and Portsmouth. Portsmouth shot it down for Flock in terms of having them have these cameras in their town. Little Compton tabled it indefinitely. I think that we really need to consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Patty Buchanan, same topic. Ms. Buchanan, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Patty Buchanan. I live on 120 Dion Avenue in Tiverton. And I'm going to back up the other ladies that spoke. I'm concerned about 4th Amendment rights. I have a bigger concern about data security. None of you can guarantee there won't be a security break. We've lived through it already in this state with very sensitive data being stolen, mine included. And the contract structure, I have some legal and ethical concerns about. So again, please, let's slow the process down, make sure we're making proper choices, and take our time with it. Other states have had to backtrack. Portland, Maine just got rid of their Flock cameras after installing them because people do not want to be followed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jim Camaro?
Yeah.
Okay. Personnel Board. Mr. Camaro, name and address for the record, please, sir.
James Camaro, 1221 Crown Door Road, Tiverton, obviously. Chairman of the Personnel Board. I just want to talk, as I see on the agenda, you're going to be having some discussion on some charter requests and some changes. You know, just to have consistency with the hiring practices we have in town. I know we had a little issue going back at the last round when we hired the town administrator. So then the council, with their great wisdom, put together a governance policy, which was fantastic and lays out the process totally. But that process can be changed, or at least the governance policy can be changed with a new council. So we put a request in to see if we could have it put into the charter so we can have a consistent hiring practice for all employees in the town. So there's no misunderstandings as far as what our role is or what should be done. So I'm just asking for your consideration. We don't ask for much. I don't think we've ever been before the council before with a charter request change. So if you could give this some consideration, we appreciate it, and let the voters decide if they want to go ahead with it. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is Christopher Englert, Arts and Conditional Gift. Mr. Englert.
Oh, he's got something.
Thank you for bringing some levity, sir. Name and address for the record,
Thank
please.
you. Okay, Christopher Englert, Buenos Noches, 30 Carpenter Street, Salou. Je suis Christopher Englert. And one of our last meetings, we were talking about the art and the art committee, and that they were playing that like you were deceased for the last few years. So I want to get the hearts going. You can't have heart without art. So, might not be for this year's budget, but for next, okay. Old Irates, yes, they rob by. Okay. Sorry. Yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pits, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. Sorry. But we forward in this generation triumphantly. So won't you heal to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever ask is a refund song. Refund song. Okay, so there's someone else in town who couldn't be here tonight, so I'm trying to, stand up for her. Kathy also lives on Carpenter Street. Yes, the police is doing what they need to. We wanted to thank them because we think the 25 might even be too high. That 20 mile per hour might be better. But she couldn't be here. She's actually selflessly saving lives, as she does during all these meetings. So she's a doctor, veterinarian, has been practicing. She's the top of her class. And we have a lot to thank. This town has a lot to thank from Kathy, this whole community, this state. And she has generously been saving. There's 4 checks. It's a conditional gift. We want to give $100,000 to all the kids that are been a residents for at least 5 years and are under the age of 18. The town has to accept this gift, and there's some other conditional things. And obviously, I only have 3 minutes, but we're trying to just get it introduced. The last condition is that we have to install a fountain in town. And that I think that's all I've written down. So I just wanted to show you how to generate money, not from taxes. So we have a solar check. We have 3 checks from installing solar panels and using less energy than what we generate. I have a tax refund because, again, we put more into the system than what we get back, and there's a lot of change and some other surprises inside. So, okay, I know we'll move on to the next thing, but I'll be back. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up we have Tim Haggerty. Back to flat cameras.
Hello. I'm not a Tiverton resident, but I am a member of Rhode Islanders for Personal Privacy.
Just name and address for the record, please, sir.
Tim Haggerty, 534 Tremont Street, Rehoboth. We are not debating whether or not this is a powerful technology that can help solve crimes, and we are not debating whether or not the police can provide robust oversight. We are trying to help communities understand that flock safety has used misleading statements and extremely unethical tactics to create a massive surveillance apparatus that now threatens our most basic rights. In the past several years, we have seen a private company suddenly granted unlimited access to data about the movements of American citizens with no limits on how they sell, share, or use that data. We have seen federal agencies granted access to these cameras despite Flock's assurance that local jurisdictions could limit their data sharing. The Fourth Amendment protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, which we take for granted, is now threatened by the fact that Flock's cameras make it easier than ever to search for citizens' movements without a warrant. The First Amendment protection of our rights to free speech and assembly have been threatened by Flock's granting of free trials of their camera systems, bypassing the democratic process of local governments. It's important to remember, though, that we've been warned many times about these threats. In 2002, the ACLU warned that the Total Information Awareness Program would allow the government to collect information about citizens' government, medical, financial records, political beliefs, travel history, prescriptions, buying habits, communications, school records, personal and family associations, and so on. Though this program was defunded in 2003 after public outcry, just a few years later, individuals began voluntarily handing over their personal information to websites like Facebook and Google. These companies now serve the same functional purpose and make it possible for governments, police, and other third parties to create dossiers of information about all citizens, regardless of whether or not they've committed crimes. And now Flock Safety's Nova Search feature allows users to integrate public and private data, including drone footage, property records, social security info, and credit histories, allowing agencies to use these dossiers to incriminate individuals in real time. In an interview with Forbes, Flock CEO Garrett Langley made it clear what the real purpose of these cameras is. When asked about DFlock, a website where citizens can view and report the locations of Flock cameras, he referred to their actions as terroristic. So when Flock documents and records our locations, it is in the name of safety. But when American citizens try to document and record the locations of Flock cameras, they are labeled as terrorists. I've submitted to the Council a longer statement which details many of the most egregious problems with Flock's conduct, technology, and business practices. I invite anyone who cares about our democratic way of life to read the full statement. I do feel that this is probably our last chance to make any kind of meaningful change before the walls of this digital prison close down around us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Jack Downey, also Flock cameras. Mr. Downey. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jack Downey. I live at 61 Pinehurst Avenue in Providence, Rhode Island. I am also here on behalf of Rhode Islanders for Personal Privacy, and I am also here to speak against the implementation of Flock cameras in Tiverton. As I mentioned, I come from Providence, which recently added, I'd say, around 25 Flock cameras to the city throughout various portions of it, including very close to where I live. And I can safely say that no one really feels any safer because of it, but people feel a lot more paranoid and a lot more depressed because they feel like they're being watched constantly by these ugly, invasive cameras that have just sort of popped up everywhere without anyone's permission or assurance. And so I've been to Tiverton a couple times now. I can safely say that it's a very beautiful town. I think you've all done a very good job with it. And I would say keep it that way, keep the Flock cameras out, and listen to the people who know they don't want them here. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is public hearings as advertised. We have approval of the proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Section 2, 107, Casino Gaming Revenue. This is the proposed ordinance which would allow us to utilize the Casino Gaming Fund in order to pay down debt. So, did I accurately represent that, Mr.
So it changed the definitions of what the money can be used for. Including, it expands the definition of capital project, may include the payment of any municipal bonded debt, principal only, not interest, or lease payment incurred for an approved capital improvement project as defined in section 2-121. And we made a small technical amendment on section F. This was discussed at the budget, as you recall. This enables us to use that money to pay for the 2 remaining school bond payments, one for this year, and, well, as long as the ordinance is on the books, it can be paid for capital bond principal only from casino money.
Okay, as this is a public hearing, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Any members of the public like to speak on this proposed ordinance amendment? Any members of the public? Yes, Mr. Engler. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Christopher Engler, 30 Carpenter Street. Reviewing this ordinance, I agree with the paying down of this bond debt with the change to the charter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to speak? Any other members of the public? Any other members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. Do I have a, sorry, Councilor Dimidaris.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, please.
Well, I gotta make it. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed amendment to Tiverton Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Section 2107, Casino Gaming Revenue. The proposed ordinance will amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Section 2107, which proposes to allow funds to be used for the payment of municipal bond debt. Now you can second it, David.
Second.
All right, seconded by Councilor Paul. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All right, next item on the agenda is appointments and resignations. We have acknowledgement of resignation, Martin Van Hoff from the Economic Development Commission, effective March 23rd, 2026. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Mr. Van Hoff's resignation with regret.
Second.
Motion made.
I'd like to say that I've worked with him, and I want to thank him for his service and his dedication to the town.
I want to echo that on several commissions, but especially on the Economic Development Commission. Martin has been a great asset to that commission, and he will be missed.
I think we all share the same sentiments. With that, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay. Next item is general business. Council President Edwards, this is discussion and possible vote on the FY27 Unified Budget Ordinance. This is the same as we did last time. Do I have a motion from any members of the council?
Mr. President, I have a motion to remove from the budget. I don't have the line item because I just got through about 3 hours of traffic from the New Hampshire border. Got home at 6:30. But I want to remove the flock camera, $23,000 for the flock cameras, for all the reasons I've said before and some of our residents have echoed.
Do we have a second?
To remove that?
Yes.
I will second that, and I also would like discussion.
By all means, Councilor Janik, take us away.
My understanding is that we have a private donor to, no, that is not correct.
Chief, do you want to come up?
Because my question is, how do we handle something like that if that is true?
Yeah, so, go ahead. So I think the chief can clarify what we discovered occurred. Go ahead.
So to be very clear, we've had flock cameras for several years now. We've had 2 that were in town. After an incident that occurred in town, a resident of our town and business owner of Middletown stepped forward and asked the police department if he could make a donation, how could he help the police department. He was presented with the idea of flock cameras. He agreed, he liked the idea, and he was willing to make the reoccurring payment for the flock cameras. That was it. I'd like to make that very clear for the council and for the public that that is all he had access to was the payment of the bill. He was never part of the decision-making factor of where those cameras were going to be placed. He never had access to those cameras, no control of the cameras at all, other than paying the bill. When I became chief, and we have spoken about bringing flock and bringing more cameras into town, I have been very transparent with the council and how I wanted to move this forward from the state police cameras to the current cameras we currently have and adding to those camera systems. I have put it on the agenda. I have spoken about this multiple times, and here we are today, hopefully to get your permission to go ahead with this system. Again, the attacks that this gentleman has had against his character have been uncalled for. He has been a generous donor to this town, from our schools to our local sports to police to fire and a lot of organizations throughout Newport County. He has been nothing but a gentleman, and any attacks made against him are unwarranted and uncalled for.
And can I just say, if we have a private donor for anything, for a playground, for flocks, for whatever, we're not going to accept that money in town unless we've approved that project and we vetted that project and made sure that's what the town wants, what's safe, what's vetted, you know, that we've gone through all of that. So we don't just take up a collection and say, we're going to put this money toward a new school or a new playground, or we have to approve it first before we would accept that. I was concerned because there was a lot of confusion in the town. We're getting letters, we're getting phone calls about people with those concerns, and I thank you, Chief, for clarifying that about this gentleman and his offer.
Councilwoman, just to be clear, the chief and I have had discussions about this, and again, this information is public because the police department answered an APRA request and was very transparent about getting the information out. There was no attempt to hide this whatsoever. By my office or by the chief's office. We complied with the law. We responded to the request, and that's when the contract was produced. Up until that time, I wasn't even unaware that the contract was, the payment of those one camera was being sent to the individual himself. And so when I discovered that, I did speak to the chief, and I indicated that that needed to be changed. That wasn't a good policy, frankly, a good practice, and the chief agreed to do so, and we were in the process of transferring that invoice to the town.
And to be clear, that process has been completed. The current contract that we have with Flock has been transferred into my name and into the police department name, and the billing will come to the police department.
And just so I don't want to make sure I have the facts right, and I think that was the contract that went for the one additional camera. The town had already had one camera that we were paying for, or am I mistaken on that?
We had two.
Two.
This individual was paying for one.
One. So there was one being already paid for by the town, and the extra one was being paid by. Again, hindsight being 20/20, and again, this has happened, I believe, long before I was a solicitor. What I would have preferred happen was that the person make the offer, we collect the money, and then we pay the bill. But it didn't happen that way. I can't explain why it didn't happen that way. That's the way it should have happened, but it didn't. But I looked into it. There was no any evidence that this individual had access to the information that was being run through the Flock cameras, had any say in where the Flock camera was placed. So it was basically almost a private donor paying it, and that's how we got to where we were. But again, we stopped the practice as soon as we became aware of it. I compliment the chief for his willingness to work with the law department on it. And again, I just want to make it very clear, there was no attempt to hide anything on this because we answered an APRA request and we provided all the information that was requested. Had we had any intention of not being transparent, it wouldn't have passed my office. And so the only reason why we know about this is because it was discovered after an APRA request.
Councilor DeMears.
I just want to make it clear that we are voting to add it to the budget so that it's there in case we decide as a group that we're going to go for this. In no way is this saying, yes, we approve the Flock cameras. You will have to do a presentation on it at some point. I will also say, I've been on the council for many years, and Flock cameras never came to this council at all. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or right, but I just want to say that we've never discussed Flock cameras. The first time I heard about Flock cameras being in this town, when there was an incident, and the Flock camera caught the license plate, and we caught the hit-and-run driver. It did not come to the council. I'm not saying whatever happened, happened, and that's okay. And it was done. I think that Peter Sherman and the abuse that he's getting on Facebook is wrong. He's been a huge donor to this town. He's a good community service person, and I think it was wrong what's going on with him. He gave money to help safety in this town. And if it was done, I'm not saying it's wrong, but if it was done not exactly the way that we would have liked it to be done, the donor did nothing wrong. And the police have now corrected it, but just because we approved this budget, we're putting it in the line item so that it's there. But the police chief will have to do another presentation, and I feel that we need to still approve this. That's all I have to say.
Any other members of the council? Councilor Burke.
Just briefly, and thank you, Councilor, for correcting that. We're only approving, if it's approved, the money for it, for 4 additional ones, though. There are already 4 additional ones. And from what I can understand, and this has nothing to do with you, Chief, because it predated you, and I don't know if it predated Patrick as the chief, but there was no policy decision by this council in the past, any council in the past, to put those 2 up. And I think that's a clear violation of the rights of our citizens because of what these things mean to people. And I understand you and I have had this conversation, and I trust you. I do. I trust your folks at some time in the future. I don't know who's going to be in charge. I don't know who the officers are going to be. Hopefully they're going to be just like you and Patrick, but very stalwart people. But I can't predict that. But even with that, with the best of intentions out there, things can go awry. And I fall on the side of civil liberties with this. So I will move the question unless you have anybody else has anything.
Councilor Comito.
So just curious on Councilor DiMederos' statement on, so if we approve a budget, then we have to bring...
We still have to approve the policy.
Well, if we're going to... The policy would be in the police department. Why would the town council approve a policy?
Because the town council would have to approve this kind of a policy.
If we're approving a budget for the police department, and that money, I mean, we don't, if we approve something for public works, we don't go and say, okay.
Well, that's very different than flock cameras.
It doesn't, well, I don't know if it's different, because surveillance and flock cameras, the way they're being used is different. And we can debate this all day long on difference between surveillance and taking a picture of a license plate, right? We're all not going to agree and disagree, right? This could go on forever. But if we approve a budget for the police department, and then we're going to turn around and tell him how he spends his money in his budget. I mean, I know we control things, but a whole nother presentation, to me, just doesn't make sense. Because we don't do that with every line item for every budget, every department head.
This is different, Craig. This is a new program.
It's not a new program. It's been in place, and if we're going to be frankly transparent, if we're going to be frank and transparent about things, our administrator was the police chief who put this in place years ago, and it wasn't transparent back then. I think our police department has been more than transparent going forward and in the future. We didn't know about this until all this came about. We didn't know how it got put in place. It has nothing to do with this sitting council. I think you know my views on the flock system, but this was put in well before us.
Without council approval.
And I don't think we should be setting policy on how the Tiverton Police Department operates, because that could be getting into a whole nother legal issue. I think that needs to be done with the police department.
Can I just say one thing?
If I can add, we do have policy on flock.
Right. And
I have also tasked the deputy chief where he runs an audit on the flock system every month, and we have a public portal that we post to our website. So you know.
I don't want anyone to think I'm opposed to flock, but I do have multiple questions about it. I do know that it's reading license plates, and I do trust that that's all it's doing. But I do have several other questions regarding this. And
I've done presentations, Counselor, with flock experts here. I have brought in my detectives, my deputy chief, the captain, the users of the police department. I did a full presentation several months ago on flock when the state police wanted to put their camera system in. I can assure you that it would be the same present. If you're looking for another one, it would be the same one that I have already done.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Perry?
I have to agree with Councilor Comito. This is in his budget already. I don't think we have to discuss this all over again. We can't tell him how to spend his money. The flock system has been there already. He's done his presentation already. You spoke about this, and you had the state police in here. We've all known about this. You said it was in your budget. We've heard about this. So I don't think it has to come before us again to authorize you to put the flock system in place. I don't know why we need another discussion about this.
Mr. Solicitor.
I disagree with my fellow councilors.
I don't want to interrupt. What was your motion, Mike?
To take out the 20.
So the motion that's on the table is whether to remove that money, not whether or not it has to come back for approval or not. Let's have a discussion about whether you should remove that money. And then we can have a discussion whether they come back for the contract, so.
Councilor Camille.
Okay, so I disagree that we should take the money and remove it from the budget. I think it's there for a good reason, a good cause. I think it's another tool in the toolbox, and I'm against taking the money out of the budget.
Okay. Any other councilors? Councilor Janik.
So I did second that motion, mostly for discussion. I understand it's a fine line for safety, and we've had this discussion. I just think that we need to take a pause and just look at some of these other questions that people are bringing up. And I'm okay with putting this in the budget, so I'm all right with that. But I do think that we need to then come back and just kind of take a look at it again. Just take a pause to make sure that we are doing the right thing and voting correctly on this.
Councilor Demideris.
But my question is, if we vote yes to keep it in the budget, I'm getting the impression we're not going to come back to this.
Chief, would you be so kind, as if this moves forward in the budget, to give the council one more bite at the apple, sir?
I fully support the program, as I always have, and if that's what it's going to take to make this happen, I would hope that, as I've had your support in the past, I would continue to have it. But if it does ease some minds to do another presentation, I can make that happen.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm just going to say that I'm going to vote against this amendment. There's a number of reasons why, and I have heard the concerns from everybody who's come up here and who's spoken, and all the emails that we've received. But I do have one unanswered question, which I think is very important, and everybody who's reached out to me, I've asked them the same question. I have not gotten a response. So I understand that Flock may have had some issues with a specific officer going off the rails in Texas, or maybe in, Portland, Maine, apparently now. There's a bunch of these different cases that have come up, these different anecdotes. But the question I've asked everybody, and I've yet to get a response on, is can you show me something in Tiverton where we have an issue? Because as far as I can tell, the 2 cameras that we have here have been used to solve multiple crimes that have occurred. Most notably, the hit and run accident that was recently. And so from that perspective, we can talk about whether it's something. Do you mind? You all had your chance to speak. It'd be nice if you'd listen to mine.
You never asked me if I had.
I did, directly in 2 emails. And beyond that, I hear all the concerns about, the Fourth Amendment and it's a violation. There are court cases that disprove that claim. So I do think it would behoove us, Chief, to have one more presentation on this. Let's address every one of the allegations that have been made, but let's do so through the eyes of Tiverton. And that's my thought.
If I may add one more thing, sir. I've fielded several questions from this myself. I've gotten support from local businesses who've reached out to me as well. I will fully and wholeheartedly give you another presentation. I've talked to Ms. Hall about this on the phone. I've tried to answer all of her questions. I hope that I did. But I think at the end of the day, we have to come to the reality in certain circumstances here that we were going to just agree to disagree. And that's how I ended my conversation with Ms. Hall. It's nothing personal. I enjoyed my conversation with her, and I enjoyed the healthy debate. But I just think that moving forward, you're either going to want this or you're not. I don't think that anything else that I'm going to say to Mrs. Hall or Mrs. Lopes are going to change their mind on this topic. I wish I could, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Councilor Paul.
Mr. President, just to add to the discussion here with the hit and run that's been brought up a couple times, there's a list here: armed robbery, organized retail theft, attempted suicide, attempted stabbing, production and possession of child pornography, credit card fraud, 2 significant grandparent schemes totaling over $200,000, one of them involving gold bars, stolen vehicle, fugitive apprehension, elderly person recovered. These are your neighbors. Is it worth $23,000?
So, with that, we have a motion on the floor to remove the $23,000 from the budget by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Janik. Yes vote would remove it from the budget. A no vote would go back to the original item. All those in favor? Opposed?
Yes, sir. I can back everyone.
Okay, motion fails. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion on the budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the FY 26-27 budget? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right. Opposed, sorry. Councilor Burke, my apologies. Okay, next item on the agenda is, it's under me, but we have a discussion and possible vote on proposed charter amendments and to schedule a public hearing. So this is an amalgamation of the items on the charter, and I guess we can go one by one to see what we'd like to move forward. Mr. Solicitor.
So thank you, Council President. So as you know, the council met back in March, I believe, with the Charter Commission to go over some of their proposals. And then there was another meeting which I was not at. I believe Attorney Kirsch was here, who had the opportunity to hear from the council. Based upon my notes and her notes and my discussions with the clerk, I've put together what I believe is the wish, or at least the desire, to see some changes by this council. I might not have got everything, but I think these are the main ones. I know there were a couple that I couldn't tell if there was a consensus, and so I just drafted it anyway. You'll see the first one grew out of the discussion that we had about the sale of the property, which I know was never discussed by the council, by the Charter Commission. So my goal in putting this before you today is to have you go through them, ask me any questions about it, and then if you want to move forward, we'll put these in final form for a public hearing with the ballot question, and maybe with a description that will maybe go into the ballot book, so that you can approve this. As you know, our deadline to get this to the Secretary of State's office to be on the election ballot is August 5th. So we've got about the month of July to get this done, and we might have to have a special meeting. As far as the order that's going to appear on the ballot, we can determine that at another date, as well as there might be an opportunity to combine some of these, and I'll go through those as you go through them. But that's kind of where this all came from. So I'm just ready to hear your comments and ask any questions that you have. And again, recognizing that I may not have gotten everything, because some of the notes, there seemed to be a split on the council as to, what someone wanted and what didn't. So there was never a formal vote. Sorry.
Mr. Solicitor, would you like straw votes on these tonight?
I think I need straw votes would be fine, subject to the public hearing. That's a good point.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. So let's start right at the top then. Article 2, Elections, Section 204, Transfer of Town Land. Any questions from the council on Councilor Janik?
Not really a question, just a comment, but this came up because of discussion, just so people understand the background, because the town owns parcels of land, and because the way that the article is written now, we have to then go to a vote for the people in order to sell land, and people want to buy these parcels of land that ended up under the town, and they can't unless we put it on the ballot. So it was just to ease that, to get parcels of land off our tax rolls.
If I may add,
put on the tax rolls.
If I may add, the property, the subject property, is actually a completely landlocked parcel that's very small, and
it's already a pool.
It was discovered that somebody was attempting to take adverse possession, although this was the prior property owner, and so the remedy would be to actually sell the land at a reasonable price to this individual, which is not, like I said, not very large, but it would be problematic if we had to go election cycle to election cycle, and potentially in the interim have to take legal action against somebody for a landlocked tiny parcel, Mr. Burke.
I believe there are other similar type, maybe
Yes.
not landlocked, similar type parcels that have been through foreclosure, I think, or bequeathed to
Correct.
the town, and there's really, they're tiny. There's nothing we're really going to do with
So
them.
the town, and I don't want to give an exact number, but the town, every year when we have a tax sale, the town takes a tax lien on those properties if no one bids on them, and then the town has the right to foreclose on those properties, and the town, once they foreclose upon those properties, becomes the owner. And the way the charter is written now, we'd have to go to the voters at an FTR or an FTM to get approval to sell those properties, which is a cumbersome process. And frankly, we don't have an FTM anymore, and we don't have we potentially have an FTR. So I know there was discussion at the last council meeting that we had sold different parcels in the past. I believe the library up the street, and Joan did the research, and actually that did go to the voters at a resolution at an FTR or FTM. So what I did here is I just made it very clear that any property that the town currently owns for open space or recreation or conservation, if in chance the town wanted to sell that property, you'd have to get voter approval for.
Yes.
All other property would be up in, you'll see later on, I gave the power to the town council to sell, convey property. So again, this charter amendment will allow us to sell property except land that's currently owned or in the future owned as open space, recreation, and conservation. And if we wanted to ever sell that, we'd have to get voter approval to do so.
So for anybody at home, we're not going to be able to sell Fort Barton Woods.
Correct. Without voter approval.
Without voter approval, so.
So that's. And again, this came up kind of surreptitiously because we found out there's a parcel, in a landlocked parcel, that actually has a above-ground pool on it.
Yeah.
And I was aware of it and got contacted by a lawyer and found out that we want to obviously remove the pool because it might be a liability to the town. And there's really no benefit to the town to own this land, but one of the abutters would like to buy it, and I couldn't say we could sell it until and that question, I believe, will be on the ballot to sell that parcel of land in November.
Yeah.
So.
It will be.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we move forward with this. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, so that one goes forward, Mr. Solicitor.
Thank
Next
you.
item is Article 4, Town Council, Section 401.
So this provision is extending extending the term of the the town council from 2 years to 4 years, and also provides for staggered terms. This is there is a transitional language here. There was some discussion whether or not we could implement this if it were passed in this November. I will tell you that it's unclear in the law whether or not you could put it on the ballot and effective, and I just think it's cleaner this way. We're now in the process of declaring for office, people in town of Tiverton, to run for town council. They're running for a 2-year term. If we were to try to make this available, if this passed in November, when this charter amendment, we wouldn't know, the voters right now don't know if this would pass. And the people who get triggered for a 4-year term would be the top 4 vote getters. Mm-hmm. Well, you might decide to change your vote depending upon who your top 4 vote getters are, assuming that this was going to be adopted. But you don't know if it's going to get adopted, so that you might want to change that. So this would become effective next election, not this election.
Did you look at how we did this for when we changed school committee? Because I thought we did it in the same election cycle.
Yeah.
I did not. I wasn't aware of that.
So I would posit,
if you want to try it, I mean, I recommend you don't do it that way, but it's not my call.
I would posit that if this is how we did the transition for the school committee, then we should follow the same suit.
I don't know if we did it.
So I would just say if you can,
we can look at
research that,
and we'll have the answer back to the public hearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it may change at the public hearing. People may have different thoughts.
Correct. So this is, again, 4-year terms and staggered terms, and as it's written now, wouldn't become, if the voters approve it for this November, it wouldn't become effective until the election of 2028.
Motion on the council to move forward with this one. Councilor Burke?
Oh, sorry.
Do we have a second?
No, I just got a question. I thought the remaining 3 candidates was a 3-year term, not a 2-year term.
No, 2 years.
What's the school committee?
No, this is just for the transition.
No, it's for both. You couldn't have a 3-year term because then you're going to have an election in an odd year.
An odd year?
Yeah, an off year.
And
an odd year.
The school committee is...
How do they run?
The school committee, 3 of them are up 1 year, and 2 of them are up another year.
In 3 year?
No, two years.
No, they do 4.
So you vote every
They do
2
vote.
years.
So you vote every 2 years.
Every 2 years. One year you're voting for 3, 1 year you're voting for 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. I was on the school committee where they did the 4 years, and I've been on here where it's only 2 years. And sometimes you have one person that's been on it before the others, and it's very helpful to have people there that know the subject and can help the people who come forward to help them get through it. And I think it's very, very good.
And just so you know, state law requires school committees to be staggered. So, but there's no requirement for town councils to be staggered. So that's why this would be a charter amendment.
I'm going to second Councilor Burke's motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
So move forward with this one as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
That one's going forward. Section 407 under Town Council.
So this is relates back to the first thing that we discussed. So this is the items 1 to 16 of the current powers of the town council. I added number 17. The town council will have the specific authority to acquire, sell, transfer, or lease any real property subject to the limitations that's set forth in Article 2, Section 204, which is about the sale of open space. So they wouldn't be able to do that without voter approval. And then this one's related to something I believe the personnel board just talked about, to solicit applications, review applications, determine interviewees, and select a person to serve as town administrator. That would be a specific power of the town council. And if you look at the related provision on the personnel board, again, this is a policy decision, but there was a little bit of a dispute as to who had the right to review applications. Did the application review period for town administrator have to go to the personnel board before it got to you? In other words, were they the screen for you, or did you have the right to interview anybody you want to? So this makes it, the language that's here makes it clear, as the town administrator is the only direct appointee by this council, that position would not go before the personnel board in any way unless you wanted to. But by charter, it could come, you'd solicit the applications, you decide who gets interviewed, and you make the final determination without any role of a personnel board.
Okay.
Again.
Thoughts on this one, Councilor Comito?
So just to be clear, we're saying that that responsibility was solely, and that personnel board would not weed through the applications and it would come back to us only?
Correct. The council could, by way of council governance policy, use the personnel board as the body.
If they wanted to.
Our current governance policy stipulates.
But the thing is, I think this came about because the town administrator answers, that's the only person that we have that answers to us, right? All the other department heads doesn't. And I'm not opposed to the personnel board being involved, but this came up because they only brought forth one candidate to us, and they had, I don't know, 4 or 5 applicants. And all I thought was the town council needs to review the other applications. Not that we would disagree, we would probably support the personnel board, but I thought it was uncomfortable to just say, we don't see who else applied. And in the past, I'll be honest with you, in the past, it's always been the town council. That was past practice up until this year. Like, we were very involved with the personnel board's choice. We were there at their interview sessions. We saw who the other applicants were. And this year was a little different. But it's the only... We work with the town administrator day after day. We know what's required. We know what we're looking for that person. And I think that that's very important. The town administrator is very much involved in all the department heads. He goes to all the personnel interviews. He sees who's applying. So why is that different with the town council? Why would that be any different? And I know that Patrick goes to all the interviews. He sees who applies. And it's up to Patrick to bring to us who should be appointed. I don't know why that's different with us, why we shouldn't see who's applying, and why we shouldn't see who's making the decisions.
So I have one question, Mr. Solicitor, and worth pondering for the council. It makes sense to me, town administrator, that's a function of this board. It's effectively the CEO role in town. But there are the 2 positions that we've talked about making appointed that were previously elected in the town treasurer and the town clerk. And I view the clerk as the chief operating officer for the town, and the town treasurer as the CFO. And if you look outside in the private sector, it would be the board that would appoint those two positions as well. So
That's something to think about.
our current structure, if we followed, if we move forward with this, and this may be something that we want to address at the public hearing, but if we move forward with this, it would effectively be the town administrator who would be responsible for hiring those two positions in conjunction with the personnel board. Councilor Comito, Councilor Burke, Councilor Janik.
So I kind of disagree with this. I think the personnel board, I think they truly understand what, we have people that were on the council previous, so I think they have an understanding of what the town needs as far as a town administrator. Me personally, I have issues with the entire hiring process across the board, and I think we all know where that stems from. I think we have a personnel board that does a great job. They follow the process. They go through the process. They put forward a recommendation. After that recommendation goes forward, then the whole process changes. Either the council does what he wants, the town administrator does what they want. It's all over the place. And I think we need to buckle down and either put policies in place to follow a process. We're going through a process right now for a fire chief, and I'm watching it closely. And it's, again, changed from what we've done in the past. So we're all over the place with a process. So it's just, we need to pick what we're going to do, follow the process, and go forward. And I believe the personnel board does a fine job of what they're doing. And if we want to add or something, we need to make those policies to clear up the process. That's what I got to say on this whole
Councilor Burke.
thing.
So a couple of things. I think this is great to have the council take the ownership and lead for the town administrator for the reasons that have been said by my colleague, Councilor DiMederos. It is a key function for the council. It's a position that reports to us. I disagree with the analogy of private corporation CEO, COO, but that's okay. I never see government as a private corporation. I think it's a completely different animal. Some similarities, but so I'm undecided on the clerk and the treasurer only because they would be reporting to the town administrator. So I'm willing to consider that, but right now I'm undecided on that.
Councilor Janik.
I feel the same way. I do agree. I think that the same line of the CEO and CFO and whatnot, but the town administrator reports to the council, so I think that the council needs to be instrumental in that whole selection process. I don't think that we should for the clerk and the treasurer, because they report to the town administrator, and I think the town administrator needs to pick his team. I think he needs to be involved in that. He does participate in the interview process for all the department heads, so I think that we need to keep them in that realm.
Councilor DiMederos.
I do agree that I think the treasurer and the clerk still needs to go through the process, because that's my whole point. They answer to the town administrator. So he should participate in the choice and not us. Although I'm open to later changing my mind if somebody wants to change it. But for now, I think we should keep the treasurer and the clerk under the town administrator.
So just we're not on that yet. I know you're anticipating, and I appreciate that. But
yeah.
I just want to make it clear what this change does.
Yeah, we realize.
Okay, so I don't want to repeat myself. Thank you.
Councilor Perry.
I was on the personnel board for many years, and I would hope we keep the personnel board involved in the selection process of the town administrator. I think the problem we had, if I believe, was that we only had one applicant for town administrator. Maybe at one time we have one, I'm not sure. But if we do have only one, then we should go out and re-advertise until we get at least 3 applicants. Because what they do is they forward at least 3 applicants to the town council. And then that's when the town council should get involved in the application process.
Well, that was the problem last time, Dave. They had 5 applicants, but they only interviewed 1 person.
Okay.
And they brought that 1 person to us, and they didn't bring us 3, because they did not interview anybody but one.
So,
All right, so they have to be, you have to have at least 3 qualified applicants. They might have 5, but maybe 4 of them weren't qualified. And that's their choice. You know, there are guidelines that are set on qualified applicants. I mean, you know, I was on that personnel board, and you get people that they just have to apply to keep their Social Security going or whatever it may be. So you get all kinds of people that apply for different types of jobs. You get truck drivers that apply for town administrators, and they're not qualified. So I think what you have to keep doing is you might have to keep going out and advertise until you get 3 qualified applicants.
Yes.
And then that's when it should come to the town council, once you get 3 qualified applicants.
And that's not what happened last time.
I'd like to make sure that they're still involved in that process. Thank you.
all right, so I think we've got some general consensus on this here, and
I want to make it.
I don't know. Honestly, I mean,
I want to make it clear. I don't think the personnel board should not be involved in it, but I think that it should be the same way as the town administrator involvement with the department heads. I think that we should be involved with the interviews. We should be involved on 3 applicants coming to us. But in the past, and I've been here, I've been to personnel board executive sessions where we've interviewed administrators, and I've seen what they've done. I'm not saying they shouldn't be involved. I'm just saying the town council should have more involvement than just giving one applicant and saying this is the only one we're passing to you, and not letting us look at the other applications.
Councilor Camino.
So how do we set that, exactly what you're saying, into a policy for somebody to follow and say, this is how we want it done? Whether it's, you know, through the vote, or just say, hey, we want to send 1 member to the council with this if we're doing a town administrator or something to that effect. How do we set that in policy to make sure it's followed? Because I think they should
I think you can
run the operation, be involved in the operation, and it should be communicated together as a team.
It's a tough decision, Councilor Camino, because what happens is you might have that one candidate that's qualified, and then by the time you go out and reapply, you're going to lose that one candidate. You know, so
I think I agree with you.
I agree. So if you have one candidate, you might want to send that one candidate forward.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's nothing in the charter. Again, the charter is the governing document that sets the parameters, right? The minimum or the maximum, usually the minimum, right? And so if you want to adopt a policy or ordinance that doesn't conflict with the charter, you know, I heard some, you know, forwarding 3 names. There's nothing in the charter that says you've got to forward 3 names. No. There's nothing in the charter that says that the personnel board has to, you know, interview everybody that they apply, or they have to forward all those names. They could get 10 applicants and only forward 1. So that's a kind of an ordinance thing that you would do. Again, the rationale, again, I'm going to repeat myself, the rationale behind this, and again, I have no dog in this fight, was that the town administrator is the sole hiree, the sole appointee of this council. Otherwise, the personnel board, by charter, current language, interviews and recommends all full-time and part-time employees in the town. And that then go to the administrator or the appointing authority from that list. Because this is a appointee of the direct appointee of the council, the language was just to clarify that this council or any future council, and you got to look past this council, you got to look past the personnel board, the current personnel board. You got to pretend you got to look 100 years from now, right, or 50 years from now.
And I agree with you, Mike, but I don't think the personnel board has ever stopped any counselor from sitting in on the interview process.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
My suggestion is we go with this, and then we all think about how to tweak this before the public hearing, because this isn't final. This is just
to move forward.
This is just to move forward. I agree with the concept of the town council should participate in this completely. Okay. But if we want to tweak it a little bit, where we bring the personnel board up.
I think if you want to make a change to this, the change would be that you would want to see the applications
of all
of them. If that would be the change you would want to make.
Yes.
Because I think that was the issue that was brought up.
Well, I want to make the whole change, but the issue that was made last time was we weren't allowed to see who else applied. And that I thought was wrong, because we were responsible for this person. So we need, and not, now, Not that the person that was chosen was not the right person, but I just wanted to see who else applied. That's all it was. I think we should go as is right now, and then for the public hearing, and I'll make the motion to go as is right now, and then maybe bring something forward for the public hearing.
Second by Councilor Burke.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
And just to be clear, I'm adding the power to acquire, sell, transfer, lease land in this provision. So that's, I know we talked a lot about it.
This is the whole thing.
It's the whole thing, but I want to make sure that the public knows that we're doing, there's two parts to this. We focus on the personnel, but not the land purchase, land sale.
Well, so how can you lump those two votes in together?
Because it's one article.
It's one article. If you want me to separate the article, I will with my motion.
Well, this is just moving it forward to.
This is just moving it
to the
forward.
hearing. We can.
You want to vote on it separately?
I'd rather vote on it separate.
All right, I'll change my motion.
So why don't we just vote on 40717?
Okay, and 40417 is the...
Acquire, sell, transfer,
land
use.
sale. All right, make a motion.
Motion been made, seconded by several. Any further discussion on the transfer of land? Hearing none, all in favor. Okay, there's
And
a
then
straw vote on that one. Now Councilor DiMedeiros
Now I
makes
make
the
a
same
motion on the
subsection
person,
18.
subsection 18.
18 in section, and as well as section 107.
As well as section 107.
Motion been made, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Councilor Burke, then Janik.
No.
All those in favor?
So one, because I didn't realize, my fault, we were going to look at 107. My only thing is, Michael, to get back to your comment about nothing in the charter requires 3 applicants to come forward to the council, right? Is that what you said?
And the personnel board, there's nothing, it's silent as to what.
Well, it's not necessarily. On 2, on 1007A2, determine those applicants to be interviewed. So from my perspective, that means I don't have to interview 3 applicants. I don't have to interview 5.
That's true.
And so there is a way that it can be set as less than whatever, 3.
Yeah,
in
makes
this
sense.
current language.
But that,
That's the personnel board.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I'm just getting, you said there's nothing in the charter that
makes
says
sense.
3 have to be forwarded.
Correct.
But there is in the charter, it can be 1.
Yeah.
Well, they determine what those applicants, they could determine to, if there's 10 applicants, they could determine to interview 1 person.
Right.
There's no limit
Right.
Right.
to them, their power, right? They-
Right.
I don't
And my
think-
point, and, go ahead.
I don't think we want to limit, I don't think we want to put a number there.
I'm not suggesting you, I'm just telling you what it is, as it is
Right.
now. I'm not advocating one way or the other, it's not my role. I'm just telling you what as it's written now, the personnel board determines those applicants to be interviewed. So if they get 20, they can decide to interview 5. If they get 2, they can just interview 1. There's just no limit. Now, where I think that should be, again, this is my opinion, where it should be clarified is either a policy of the personnel board or an ordinance that establishes those procedures.
But can we do that? If this says they only have to do 1, it doesn't say that, but they get to choose. Can by ordinance, can we put a
That's a
restriction
fair
on
question,
that?
I'd have to think about it, but yeah.
Right.
And that's why I kind of took that out. That's why the appointee of the town administrator is solely within this body.
Right. I understand that. That's a more generalized question.
Right.
But I don't know that we can do that by ordinance
That's a fair
without a
question.
change.
I didn't really think about it, so
Mike,
we can think about it.
Councilor Burke, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You can call
I know the way they do it is they kind of rank them. They go through all the applicants.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing
and they
with.
rank them.
Yeah, also what I'm trying to point out.
I know what you're saying.
is-
In the charter, it says they don't have to.
Right,
but
so
they-
by ordinance, we can't restrict them. That's what Mike
correct.
seemed to think
You're
that we
correct.
could.
But the way they do it is they physically rank them
Right.
by category.
Right.
And then if they get 20, they'll probably interview 12 out of the 20.
Probably not. 8.
But if they get 10 applicants and they're totally not qualified for that position, and they get 1 who checks every single box, I would never want to limit them, well, we have to wait until we get 3 applicants.
Right.
You know?
Again, we're only talking about the administrator
Yeah.
position, not all the other positions.
This
Right.
is a totally different
Right,
subject.
yeah.
All right, let's vote.
All right, so motions for 18 and then 1007, whatever section.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Section 6, Financial Services, 602, Town Treasurer through Section 606, Transition.
So, Council President, again, this is to make the treasurer no longer an elected position. Just so you know, there are only 2 communities that elect their treasurer. One is Tiverton, and one is my hometown of Situate.
Brothers in arms, let's go.
So, and this would allow the, now, and I didn't know, because my notes were not clear, and I didn't know where the council was on this. So I said it would be an appointed position by, and I put town council or the town administrator. So you need to decide which way you want to go, or you can leave it like that till the public hearing. And that, again, like all the other department heads, would be a period of 3 years for the contract. And then we set some of the qualifications for that. And then I clarified some of the powers and duties and that in the of what the treasurer had to do. And then I talked about a transition period. I did not realize the treasurer is on a current 4-year term. The current treasurer is not up for re-election this year. To the extent that she decides to retire, resign, whatever, you needed to basically, assuming this passed, and on January 1st, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, she resigns, you normally would fill that by a new election. This would allow you to implement this and appoint the treasurer. So it's a transitional period, anticipating if something happens. And she may decide to fill out her term, which I think she intended to do. And she did look at this, and she made some tweaks that I had originally drafted. But again, this is a decision, again, to put this to the voters. You guys don't have a right to decide this. All you can decide is whether this should be put to the voters.
All right, so I do have one comment. Because if I look at the current town treasurer duties, there's one that stuck out at me. It's section 602A, duties and responsibilities, subsection 8. And I noticed that was, oh, never mind. There it is. Moved on the paper. Disregard.
There, I didn't change it. Yeah. I only clarified a couple things on 10.
I know the treasurer does not really want to serve as the trustee of the pension, but I just want to make sure. So, I would feel from the council that we have a motion before.
To approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's made by Councilor DiMedeiros, seconded by Councilor Paul. Councilor Janik.
Could I ask, just because I might have to write, I'm going to try to write the ballot questions. We haven't made a decision. You have not yet made a decision whether it should be appointed by the council or the town administrator, this position.
It'll go back to whatever we decide on the other.
Okay.
Well, we're going to have to tweak.
On the personnel board one.
No, not the
No.
Well, it would impact the personnel board. It would also impact the town administrator hiring under.
Are you saying, just so I understand, anticipating, are you saying that if it rests with the town council to make this appointment, then you have to make a decision whether or not the personnel board is going to be the screen for that position?
Right.
Or if it rests with the town administrator, they would be the screen because that's how it's set up now. Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand the issue. Yep.
Wouldn't this be the same as any department head?
That's it.
That's the argument.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's my point. So I was looking at Public Works. So it's appointed by the town administrator with approval of the council. So if we decide that it's the town administrator who makes the decision with our approval, we just use the same language.
Yeah, but isn't our approval is only for the contract, not the person? Isn't that correct?
Correct. Well, you could vote no on the contract.
Right.
No.
But I'm just saying, it's not, it's,
Yeah, but if you
we're
don't,
not,
but if you don't like who came forward, you can vote no.
Right, if you don't have a contract, you're not going to, the person's not employed.
it's a play of words.
Ultimately,
No, there's a difference.
Ultimately, it's the town council's decision, no matter how it goes.
Well, they can either they can approve the contract or not approve the contract.
Right. And if they don't approve, then that person doesn't get appointed.
It's an open question of whether.
Disagree with that statement.
Right. There's ambiguity whether an administrator could appoint someone without a contract, and that could be. But the charter requires a contract.
Yes.
So I have a question, just something to think about is, and I would actually ask the current treasurer if she were here, but would she be okay now rolling up under the town administrator, coming from an elected position?
I will tell you, I'm sorry, and I don't want to speak for her, but we did have this conversation, and she felt that for chain of command issues, getting direction, she felt it was better to answer to one person than to answer to 7 people. But obviously, she also wanted to make sure that if the council requests information from the treasurer, that you didn't have to go through the town administrator to be a screen. That financial information would be freely shared. Well, so that's where the language came from. So yes,
I'm not thinking about this body. I'm thinking about future councils.
Right, and that's a fair question to ask, and she can speak for herself, but we did have that conversation, and she felt more comfortable as thought it'd be for her own work that she answered to one person. And again, it might not be her, it could be anybody, so.
Whomever in the future.
Whomever.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, we'll move that one forward. Article 6, Section 7, Budget Committee, and Article 3, Annual Budget Process, Financial Town Referendum, Section 301B6, Budget Committee.
So this is just a cleanup, as you know, when we changed the financial process. I think Councilman Burke was part of it. We did have a long, lengthy discussion about whether the Budget Commission is going to survive the change in the budget process, and frankly, it has not survived the change in the budget. It went from a body that basically proposes the town budget to now an advisory committee that basically advises, and it's still an elected position, and unfortunately, there's nobody running for that position anymore. I think we don't have anybody on it, right?
One person.
Two people. So we kind of anticipate, when I say we, in 2022, we anticipated that this might happen. And so this is just striking any reference to the charter of an elected budget commission. It doesn't mean that the council in the future, if they wanted to appoint a budget advisory committee.
We would just do it by ordinance.
They could do it by ordinance or by resolution. But again, by putting in the charter, you wouldn't have been able to change it until you change the charter. By keeping it in an ordinance or a resolution of the town, you gain some flexibility there. You can change it as the council changes and figure out. But so this is kind of, I consider this a housekeeping cleanup, just because no one's running for this position anymore, and it's really right now it's an advisory committee. So again,
and I think we'll get more clarity after the declaration period ends. So on Wednesday. All right, Councilor Janik.
So when we did discuss about a finance committee.
Correct.
So after the election, if this were to pass and we no longer have an elected budget committee, we could then do an ordinance for some kind of a finance advisory. I'm kind of envisioning, and other people may have other thoughts, but they meet yearly, I mean, throughout the year, and look at finances and can focus on different areas. So I think that we need to kind of put that on the tickle file for after the election and see what the people vote for.
And yet again, it's a policy decision. By keeping it out of the charter, you got a lot more flexibility. It can be changing upon what you might need, who you want to be on that finance committee, how often they meet. You can set that by ordinance and whatnot. So.
Okay.
So I'll move forward with that. That's a pretty easy one to just strike all.
We good? I'll make the motion. We move forward with it.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor DiMederos. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next up,
I'm sorry.
Article 8, Town Officials and Offices, Section 801, Town Clerk.
So again, similar to the town treasurer, this would be the town clerk. And again, I didn't put the town council or the town administrator because the notes reflected that you wanted to make this appointed by the town administrator. That's what the notes reflected that.
Madam Clerk, we like that?
Yeah, she does.
Okay. So again, this would remove the town clerk as an elected position, make it appointed by the town administrator, like any other department head, subject to a 3-year contract.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor Perry. All those in favor? Next up, Town Offices and Officials, Section 806, Town Planner.
So this is a new section. This came from the Budget Committee. We do not have a charter provision that requires a town planner. Again, we made it a department. We didn't make it. We made it a town in the office, a town planner, 3-year term, renewal contracts. Appointed by the town administrator. Duties and responsibilities came from the Charter Commission. I know that, so that's where the language came from.
Okay. Councilor Burke.
I think this is an important one because years ago, the town planner was stripped from the budget, and I think the town has been hurt by that over the last, 10 years or whatever. So I think this is extremely important for us to move forward. So I will make a motion to move this forward to public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Burke, seconded by several. All those in favor?
Okay. Well, just to put this on your radar screen, I did have a discussion with the town administrator. We did have a general discussion about maybe a reorganization of the department of planning and economic development and putting other people within that would report to the town planner. I'm going to let him speak about that. That can come out in a public hearing. Just put it in your mind to make the building official and the zoning official answer to the town planner and kind of make it a little bit more smoother, so we have like a supervisor instead. Right now, it's the town administrator who's supervising these individuals individually. So, but that's something we can think about. We need to flesh that out.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had that in my notes because we've talked about that.
I couldn't tell of any consensus, and I didn't want to draft it and waste the time drafting it until we had more discussion
We've
about
talked about it. I've talked about it with the planner. Patrick's talked to the planner. I mean, that's something that's...
I knew it came from somewhere. It just wasn't where.
Yeah,
sure.
it's like we don't have everything down, but they're all being moved into that office down there, so they'll all be together.
Okay, next up is Article 9, Departments and Agencies, Section 903, Fire and Rescue Department. This is housekeeping, unless Councilor Comito would like to relaunch the Volunteer Fire Department. You want to...
It's housekeeping, so
housekeeping.
Just move forward, yeah.
Moving forward. Okay. Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1001, Planning Board.
So this is the Planning Board. I believe, I wasn't sure there was consensus on this, but there was a request to reduce the numbers from 9 to 7, which is, you'll see there. And then we have, I believe that the former chair, to align with state law, requires them to elect a chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary. So that's in section B. And then the language that's underlined: the planning board shall work with and be advised by the town planner on issues related to land use, physical growth, and development. That came directly from the recommendation of Mr. Janik's Charter Commission, and is the language that came out of there.
I would just like to add something to this. So underlined: the planning board shall work. The planning board shall work and be advised by the town planner on issues related to land use, physical growth, and development, and provide info in a timely manner that the planning board members request. And there's a reason for that. And I think it's important. It's a brand new position, the planner. And there's been problems in the past where the planning board has asked for information and it's taking weeks to get. So if we put in the charter, now I know a timely manner is kind of
nebulous,
but I didn't want to put a certain time because they may ask something that requires him to do hours and days of work. So you can't just say he sends it to them in 2 days. It depends on what he's requesting for. But it has to be a reasonable, if it's a very simple question, a reasonable amount of time. So that's why I put timely, because I couldn't really put, it just depends on what the info is. And I hope you will agree.
So, sorry, Councilor Comito, Councilor Burke.
His hand was up first.
Oh, Councilor Burke,
Quick
Councilor
question.
Comito.
By that, you mean the planning board as a whole, not an individual planning board
No,
member?
I mean, if a planning board member is uncertain about a certain topic and wants to ask a question, I think they have the right to have it done. Now, the only thing is, if you want to do it this way, if you want to do it via the planning board chairman, so only she can call him and say, this planning board member is wondering about this, could you answer that to the entire board? I have no problem with that if that's the way you want to do it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I think if we've been watching the meetings, I think everybody here has been watching the planning meetings, and I think the number one concern is, they don't feel as though they're getting the information in a timely manner, right? I mean, it's a lot of information. It's not fair to ask them to review something if they're getting it within 24 hours of a meeting. There is so much to it, and if you start just reading their documents, by the time you get to the second page, your head's already spinning, and you're already trying to figure out Rhode Island law, ordinances, what our zoning is, right? So it all comes together. So I think it's important that we try to get that information out them, and I think it gives us as a council to put a little pressure on the planner, saying, let's get this information out. But at the same token, I think it should all go through the chair and the planner, because if a planner's getting a call from, if it stays at 9 or 7 members, it's just a lot of work for him to answer all those phone calls and be on the phone. And I think the chair can funnel and get all the important, the chair can get it from their body and disperse what they're looking for, so we're on task and we're not doing somebody might want something from this plan, that plan. It's just too confusing for the planner, and it wouldn't be fair.
I agree with that, and you could come up with some language for it.
Okay. Councilor Janik?
And I think some of the questions that come from the planning board happen right at the planning board meeting, and they're asking for information on items that the planner could delegate to Ed, and just to compile information. And they're saying it right at the planning board meeting, so it doesn't have to go through the chair at that point.
At that point, but there is some others.
But there's absolutely some. But I think if you look at the packets that the planning board get, we get packets sometimes that are, yay thick. And a lot of ours is fast things that we can move through. Theirs is so detail-oriented, and they've got maps, they've got all kinds of things. It makes my head spin to look at them. And they really don't get them timely. And I don't know if this is the place that we put this, but we need to have kind of a cutoff when these developers are bringing items in, because Ed's copying them and passing them out at the planning board meeting, and they're expected to be going through these big, thick packets and making decisions on the spur of the moment. So I think that we need to have some kind of deadline, and whether that goes in here, I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Solicitor, a lot of what's happening is governed by time clocks and all that at state law. So I think realistically, to solve some of these issues, it's really a state law change.
There are time clocks that require the planning board to act by a certain period. The submission of stuff is kind of a local rule that we could determine, and whatnot.
We need to determine.
And that's the planning board has the right under the statute to make their own rules and regulations as to when things are submitted or not. I will tell you that, I don't really advise the planning board anymore as to whatnot. I will tell you that there are two sides to every story about when the documents are submitted and whatnot. So some of it's the fault of the developer, but sometimes it's not.
And I get there's time clocks, but if you are the developer, if you are the attorney for that developer, and you know that your time clock is coming up in 2 weeks, you don't bring it in today. They need to be proactive too. But if we're accepting things at the 11th hour, then that's what they do.
The problem is the law says if the planning board doesn't act by a certain date on the time clock, then it's automatically approved. And so, yes, there should be a better mechanism to govern when the documents are being submitted and whatnot. But that should all be done by local rule and regulation
Then we need
at the
to do
planning board
that,
level.
because they're making very important decisions.
Like the other night, they were given things right as we were all walking in, and I think that that's unacceptable.
Well, they were given, again, I wasn't there, but I saw it on TV.
I was there.
I think they were given legal memorandum on certain issues that had been raised by
No,
some
it
of
was
the
other.
objectors.
No, it was other things.
Okay.
It was stuff the developer gave them.
Think 30,000 feet. We're not talking about one application. We're talking about for the future. So.
I just want Councilor Perry, I think, has something to say, then we'll go back to Councilor Camino.
I was just going to say that these, I stop in and see Ed and our planner usually every Friday, and those guys are knee-deep in applications and paperwork in that office. They're working on multiple projects, not just one. So I think they're doing one heck of a job on the projects that are coming up in this town.
So I truly believe they're doing their best and working as hard as they can, getting this information out. But at the same time, I've been talking about this for a long time, the process. We need to fix the process, right? I understand there's state law, but there's things that we can do on our side to make things a lot smoother. I've been waiting to sit down with the town administrator, the planner, and to talk about the process, not only with the planning, but going through the building department. If you ever tried to get a simple permit online, the questions that are being asked is just astronomically, it needs to be reworked to make it simple, to get to your point and move on, right? And it's collecting data, so it's just, we need to work on the system. And I think the chair of the planning board needs to be involved in that. The whole system needs a rework, so I think that's where we need to go, and I hope this helps that.
If I could just posit one more item, because this came up with a couple issues, but effectively the planning board sets their own rules and regulations, and the council has no bearing on that. So realistically what needs to happen is we need to decide what's going to go on with the planning board on a go-forward basis, and they need to find some time in their schedule to fix their own rules and regulations, because we don't have control.
But we need to support them on how they want to change it.
Yeah.
The town council needs to support them with the planner and the town administrator. Me and Deb are the liaisons, and we're doing the best we can to support them. But it's an overwhelming job they have. And if they feel that there's a certain thing they need to change, we as council needs to also support that and have communications with the planning board.
Yeah, but my point being is that it's their rules and regulations. The council has no authority there. So, for instance, even just the submission, what constitutes the submission? You know?
That's state law.
That's state law.
But I can get more.
Some of the rules and regulations
I think
around. Yes.
we can flesh this out.
Okay. All right. So we all in favor of this?
And I'll make that change for the.
Okay.
Yes,
I don't want to make clear, are you in favor of reducing from 9 to 7?
Yes.
Well, that's something-
Yes. Well, I
Yep.
think that's what the motion was.
The motion was by Councilor DiMederos to do the whole thing and then add language that the solicitor is going to refine for the public hearing.
I don't know who seconded though.
Seconded, all in favor? All right, there's the full vote. Okay, next up is Article 10, Zoning Board of Review, Mr. Solicitor.
So this was mostly written by me. This is to conform the new zoning, the powers of the zoning board to conform with state law. As you know, under the old law, they used to hear appeals from the planning board. They no longer hear appeals from the planning board on denials of master plan or preliminary plan, so that clarified that. And then I just clarified the first alternate and the second alternate and the terms. So this really conforms with state law. It's an update.
So it's effectively housekeeping?
I think it's, yeah, housekeeping.
We all good with housekeeping? Okay. All in favor? Okay, moving forward. Boards and commissions, harbor and coastal waters management.
So this is really economic, I'm sorry, this is Councilman Paul's. I wasn't, the notes were a little foggy on this because I'm going to blame Sid on this, but I wasn't sure there was a consensus.
Don't blame Sid.
I wasn't sure there was a consensus to remove, reduce the number of the Harbor Commission from 7. I do remember there was a long discussion, or at least appeared to be a long discussion about whether or not to include a member of the Planning Board on the Harbor Commission. So I struck that language. Frankly, I'm not sure that was ever agreed to, but I just want to let you know. So I don't know where you got.
That's what we decided.
You did decide that, okay.
All right, we like it as is. Councilor Janik?
So we had 9 members, and we said that we'll staggered, so no more than 5 expire in 1 year. But now we're going down to 7, so should we have that no
Good
more
point.
than 4?
Yeah, 4. Yep, good point.
Okay, great catch. Any other questions or comments? If not, entertain a motion for the above and the change to
And by the way, I put this
5
in,
to 4.
just to save time, I put this in the same section, but this should probably be a separate question for the Harbor Commission. Yep.
All right. So moved. So moved. Seconded by Councilor Perry. All those in favor? All right. Economic Development Commission.
Again, this was based upon the notes and the meeting that you did have and the powers and duties. I took them right from the memo that was submitted. I think there was a memo submitted by somebody. I think it might have been the chair. And I know there was discussion about whether or not the person who is the chair has to be involved with the sale of land or development of the economic park. I didn't see any consensus on that. I know that Mike was an advocate for it, but I didn't see a consensus, so I left that out. And then came up with the powers and duties and kind of tweaked it a little bit and updated the language.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor
I
Burke.
would ask that we consider putting that language back in, but I can also wait till the public hearing.
So, form of a motion?
Motion to add back in the language about the chair being involved in discussions and I forget what the exact language.
I think it was like the sale of land or economic development, whatever. It wasn't sale of land, business purposes, yeah. I don't have the exact language, but I know what it was.
We got a second on that?
Didn't that also involve executive session?
Yes.
Not all though. Right?
Yeah, that's my problem, not all.
Like, as needed, as indicated, however, like, if invited, I don't think it.
If the council is considering that application, because we get several applications that we don't consider at all. So I think it's if the council is considering giving them the heads up, this may happen. And what is your input on it? That's what I think.
So again,
I don't think that needs to be documented in the.
Yeah, I mean, you just do it as you will. The council has the right to invite anybody into the executive session at any time.
Yep.
By putting in the
guys from Channel 10, we could invite them in tonight.
By putting it in the charter, you're requiring that person, depending how it's written, to attend those meetings. So again, I think yours was more mandatory language, not discretionary, correct? Yeah,
Okay, so anybody seconding Councilor Burks? All right. So can we get a motion on the other changes here?
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. One quick piece here. Yep. I do know this was discussed, but I don't see it reflected here as far as EDC rolling up under, for instance, the town planner.
I didn't move that. There was a discussion. We don't have that department yet, so.
Okay, so it would have to be something that comes after the fact or by ordinance.
And by ordinance.
There was something.
Or by charter. Again, if there's a movement or a desire to have a Department of Planning and Economic Development, then I can draft something for the public hearing.
But that's in the planner, right?
Well, no, we have a planner. We don't have a department. Like there are departments, like the DPW department, but the planner is just a position. There's no Department of Economic Development or Planning and Economic Development.
My point being that right now, every single one of these boards and commissions reports to the town administrator.
Correct.
So.
Oh, you mean just for this one to report to
the planner? Yeah. So
you mean? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You want this economic development to report to the town planner?
Yeah, rather than the town administrator.
I wasn't aware that was a discussion. Yes.
Yeah, it's got in the planner's description as well. The economic growth and long-term planners.
I think it gels with what that office is.
So I'll add language to report that reports to the town planner.
Are we good with that language? Okay. All right, so all in favor of moving forward
with that change?
Opposed?
Just a part that, no, I'm opposed. To the part of adding the language to answer to the planner.
Okay.
How many people is the planner going to have to answer to? Right?
The administrator has a bunch now.
Well, I'm just saying,
Because right now, yeah.
All right. Any other items you wanted to bring forward, Mr. Solicitor, that weren't captured here?
Maybe sorry.
Yes, Councilor Camino.
Maybe that person could work with the chair and then direct all the information to the planner. That's just.
I don't think. We don't have the open meeting law. If you're looking at it as the Economic Commission chair,
to add those to the agenda for
discussion. If you're looking at it as the planner answers to the economic chair, that's not the case. It's the opposite.
I understand it's the opposite, but now you're going to put the chair. You have another chair bringing something to the planner to work on, where maybe that chair should work with the planning chair if they want to build in a certain way, or a particular idea on a storefront, or if we're putting something in, you know what I mean? The chair can work with the planning board, and then the planning board funnel the information down, so we're not getting all different, because the planning and the two chairs could have totally two different ideas, and now the planner is stuck in the middle of two groups of trying to figure out what direction we're going to go in. If the general consensus comes from one person, the chair of the planning.
Well, I don't disagree, but Chair Jones has a whole bunch of other duties as well. She's at state level meetings and.
I get that, but I'm just reading what's in here, and it talks about storefronts and design and all.
So your preference would be that it's just effectively underneath the planning board?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and to go with that, Councilor Camino, is if we have to remember that the planner reports up to the town administrator. So if there's a disagreement between those two bodies, as the planner, I would be going to the town administrator saying, help me out with this. What are we going to do with this? And maybe we convene a meeting of the chairs or whatever and help figure it out. But I do think they're very distinct. There's overlap, but they're very distinct roles.
Okay.
So if you look at, again, if you look at your packet, there are two, and this was also public. Yeah. So if you look at your packet, there are two other changes that did not make the agenda because they were done after the fact. Was the school committee just clarifying with the elected chairperson, vice chairperson, and that they serve at the pleasure of the committee. Right now it says annually. And then the Arts Committee, I think there was some discussion of whether or not to strike the Arts Committee completely from the charter and make it maybe an ordinance. So I don't want you to either really discuss or vote on that, but if I can get a sense that we can add this to the public hearing.
Minor typo on
Yep.
the school committee?
Yep.
Each of whom?
Yep. So it wasn't on the agenda. I just want to just bring it to your attention, but it was public, so we're not going to discuss it. So,
okay.
Thank you, everyone. That was and then I think you need to decide.
And the Arts Council.
We did that. Yeah, we're not going to discuss it though because
we got consensus that it'll be at the public.
I know there was also discussion about the Veterans Committee to put it in the charter. Again, these in my opinion, this is just my opinion.
I'm the one who proposed it. I think we do it by ordinance.
Very good. Because you get a lot more flexibility to do things by ordinance by then charter, because the charter, to change it, you got to have this public hearing, you got to put it to the voters. So the charter is the governing constitution of your town. It should be the outline of powers and duties and responsibilities, but not how to run on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. So next item on the agenda is discussion and possible vote to amend Joint Resolution 2026-01 to the correct section number from 2122A to Section 2133A.
This was a catch by the school committee chair. This is a typo in the ordinance, so just make it consistent.
Motion been made, seconded by several. All those in favor? Okay. Next item is discussion and possible vote to authorize the administrator to provide letters of support to Rhode Island Ready program regarding LB Properties LLC project and the Long Tradesman Complex project.
I forgot what the backup was to this. So
these are 2 letters to Rhode Island Ready.
Right. So I know that I've been talking to the town administrator about this, and I apologize. I don't know as much about it as he did, but we had a discussion about this is just a letter of support of supporting this. Putting these 2 proposals to Rhode Island Ready, which is an expedited review process that the state is using for economic development, and to get the support of the community. They want to know if the local community supports it. So, go ahead, sorry.
All right, let's go. We're going to start over here. Councilor Perry, anything for this?
I support it.
Okay, Councilor Paul. Councilor DiMederos.
I just have a problem because other applicants have asked for this also, and we have made the decision that we're not selling any land until we decide where the recycle center is. So, but there was someone else in front of us, if I'm wrong, correct me, that wanted to do something very similar. So I don't know why we're just doing it for these 2 when there were other applicants too. And it's not that I oppose this, it's just that there was another applicant.
I don't know if there was, again, and I know they're in the audience, I don't know if there was a request for support for the Rhode Island Ready program. I know there was a request to sell
Well, I don't know
property.
if they knew they could have requested that, and so I think we should offer it to them.
Councilor Janik.
This is not, by the way, this is not selling any land.
This is not committing to
Has nothing to do with
land.
committing to sell any land. This is land that has already been sold and already bought by other individuals. Mr. Long's property has already been sold. He sold.
So that's the question I just want clarification on.
Yeah.
So is this for these letters? Is for existing projects that are already happened, that he's already purchased?
Because he didn't
Or is this
purchase-
for future plans of maybe if I buy the land and I put an Iceplex in, he wants Rhode Island Ready to help out?
Mr. Long owns the Plat 109, I believe, in lots 734 and 742 already. He
Okay.
owns those.
So these are all.
But are
When
these,
he purchased them, what were we understanding he purchased them for?
I believe.
Skating rink.
Yeah, this was the Iceplex, yes. I could be wrong, but I think
Right.
it's the Iceplex. And now, I believe if he's successful, I think he would, the intention is to further subdivide that property and put a trade complex there.
but these are projects that have not been approved yet, correct?
Right.
Exactly.
Have not even been presented
But they wouldn't be approved by this body at all.
But they haven't even gone to the planning board.
Nor do I believe they would under the Rhode Island Ready program.
But see, my problem is he bought these plots to put something different on it that we approved. And now.
Well, we approved, let's be very clear, we approved the sale of the property with the understanding that he had to, not that he had to, but the sale of the property that it complied with zoning. He is now the landowner. The landowner can change his mind if they want to.
Correct, but he has to still go with zoning.
Correct.
what is approved in
Right.
zoning.
Right, and, right.
But not if they go through Rhode Island Ready, you're saying?
Well, not, the planning process is different, but you still got to comply with zoning.
But Rhode Island Ready still goes by what our zoning is.
Correct,
Because
right.
they were before us at another
Correct.
time.
I'm not disputing that.
And I specifically asked them that. So this one, Mr. Long owns this property, and then
So.
Mr.
do you
Cardozi
remember-
owns the other?
All right, so let's, am I on? So remember when we had the big discussion about abandoning the road, and the individual said, you're making me landlocked in the back end, even though
Yes.
he's the one that, he built the property across the front end. This is the parcels that surround that road that we abandoned.
You're talking about Mr. Long?
Yes, Mr. Long.
I mean, I'm in support of this as long as this is for his.
This is not for any land that he doesn't already.
And other people still have the option to put in.
Absolutely.
Because we have not decided what we're doing with the rest of the land, because we haven't decided what we're going to do with all our stuff yet. So this is all the existing stuff that he owns currently, right, Mr. Solicitor? This is all his land that he owns currently.
Which he was going to put an ice skating rink on.
Which I still believe he intends to. He's going to
Yes.
subdivide it further.
So
Good, thank you.
But
let me just throw this out there. I mean, hypothetically speaking, if let's say we get to the point where we're selling whatever parcels are remaining, and those people who purchase them want to also go into Rhode Island Ready, it probably makes the case even better.
Well, I think it's their business once they buy the land, if that's what they want to do. It's just as long as everybody's afforded the same opportunity, that's all I'm saying. Right? That's key here. If people want to purchase land, this isn't jumping the gun. There's land still available. Everybody can still put their stuff in. This is his project, his land, and if he wants to tweak it a little bit, he still needs to get approval from the planning board and everybody else, and this is just supporting the Rhode Island Ready.
But that's not what you're saying.
I'm
They
not-
bypassed the planning
I am
board.
not. I'm not familiar with. We did have a presentation with the Rhode Island Ready program. I do not believe, and I can get the information. I believe it's an expedited process that doesn't go through the local planning board.
Yeah.
Well, so with the Rhode Island Ready, I've heard so many different things, like, yes, it's the way you want to go, no, it's not the way you want to go. It depends on what the project is. If it fits in our scope, people get upset and say, well, we don't want that, so we don't want to do Rhode Island Ready. Then we say, yeah, we want Rhode Island Ready because they're going to help pay for a lot of our infrastructure. So again, I think we need to decide which way we want to go as a council or a town, saying, do we want the support to come in? And my understanding is Rhode Island Ready will help build some of our infrastructure. I mean, I know Mike knows a lot of this stuff too, but I'm just confused on where the process is, so.
What we had talked about was having Rhode Island Ready come in for the whole industrial park that was left at a period of time, for Rhode Island Ready to come in, assess it, and help us figure out what to do.
When you say we, who is we?
What had come to us before, what had been discussed with us before.
I think it was on the
Not
to it.
with that and even after that. Not for a specific landowner to make use of it. So I think that's the difference. I still think, even though there's only a little bit there, we could have the help of Rhode Island Ready, maybe not. I'd rather have them help us figure that out, or at least talk to us about it. I'm not comfortable with doing it for specific landowners.
Just so we're clear, right here on the eligibility and process for Rhode Island Ready, you have to meet 10 acres or at least support a 100,000 square foot building, zone for industrial or offshore wind, are within 1 mile of a designated state highway. And then if you apply and you are accepted, they're going to come in and do feasibility assessment for the site, for zoning compliance, size and or potential building yield, access for vehicles, environmental conditions, utility services, title and ownership status, and then the Quonset Development Corporation votes basically to continue along the process. So
And it's only for industrial property, it's not?
Yeah, step 2 is technical assistance, step 3 is capital investment, and that's where you get the money for roads and infrastructure and all that. And then step 4 is go build the thing. I understand what you're saying, Councilor Burke, that it would be better if the town was the one to move forward, but ultimately, it's my opinion, it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. If we have a couple of projects that get accepted into Rhode Island Ready, the dollars are still going to go to infrastructure. It's just they're the ones who are applying for them, and they're the ones who are outlaying the capital to, match whatever is coming down from Rhode Island Ready.
It is a requirement that the application have the support of the town, however. That is a requirement.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
According to the website.
are you looking for?
Right there.
Yep, yeah, letter of support from the chief executive officer of the municipality and a zoning certificate for the property.
And in the discussions that I had with the town administrator, again, he could just sign this letter on his own, but again, in being transparent, so we thought that it was better to bring it before the council.
So,
Unless we direct him not to.
Well, that's why he came before him.
so just one final question with this. These letters would only pertain to the lots that he purchased. So in other words, we know that we know this offers on different lots, right? So.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So these letters that we're looking for Rhode Island Ready right now pertains to certain lots.
Yes.
Which are listed on here.
Correct.
Which are owned by Mr. Long.
A different...
Mr. Seifert is
There's
also.
two different ones, yes.
But it only refers to those lots.
It's only the lots that are listed in the letter.
Correct.
If, let's say, hypothetically speaking, Joe Smith bought a chunk of land in the back of the industrial park, then...
Well, let's speak facts. Let's say Mr. Long wins the bid or we approve another purchase that his price is higher than somebody else's.
Yep.
Can these...
He would need another letter.
Okay, just want to make sure that he can't transfer this and go to another piece of property next door to do, well, I didn't really want my tradesman center on this lot, I want it on this lot.
That's my concern.
Can that happen?
No, it's lot specific.
Okay, he would have to come back with another letter of support for a second lot if he...
That would be my understanding. And we can put that in the
Right.
letter.
Can we make sure that that's
We can
true?
put that in the letter that, it's only for these lots, and to the extent that he wants to put other lots, it's only for this lot. These
Right,
lots.
because, I mean, that could change, if people are looking for a different parcel, and you have, like, that could change what the land's value is worth, or whatever, somebody else trying to bid, or, I mean, if there's multiple people that are ready to buy another, purchase another lot, it's got to be fair across the board. You can't have a plan saying, well, you supported me for Rhode Island Ready, now I'm going to change it and put it on this lot.
Right, it's for these specific lots.
Okay, thank you.
That he owns,
And
that the
then-
owner owns.
Councilor Janet.
And Mr. Longs talks about the, what's it called? The tradesman complex project that I don't believe the planning board has heard anything about. I've not heard about it, and I pretty much go to all their meetings. If this was approved by Rhode Island Ready, it would bypass the planning board, so they would have no say in...
Yeah, I'm not so sure that's accurate.
No. They
because
provide
would-
technical
would-
assistance.
They would have... It would have to go to the planning board for approval. You're saying yes, Dave, but do we know that? Does the Rhode Island Ready specifically say that?
Just for, and I was at Mr. Long's facility last Saturday. I don't know the plots, 106, 107, 108, 109. The ice skate rink is still going to be built. Next to the ice skate rink would be one of the buildings that he wants to put up for the tradesman center.
Right.
And then there would be a hotel that's not being mentioned yet either, and then another tradesman center. So there would be two tradesman centers, in the middle would be a hotel on all that land that he owns. He owns all that property already.
So he'd have to subdivide
Yes, he does.
those lots.
He owns all the land.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
There's a lot between the hotel and,
Yeah.
and right,
Correct.
that he doesn't own.
Yeah.
There is, that's true.
Yes.
All right, so there's one.
There's more than one lot. There's a number of
Yes,
lots.
yes, there's a few lots between there, so I mean, I don't disagree with this, but there's lots in between there that other people have put bids in on also, that we need to be transparent and clear and accept all the bids, and in my opinion, it should go to the highest offer,
Or whatever we decide.
or whatever fits in the nature of that piece of property, right? I get the whole plan, but we just need to be fair for everybody, that's all I'm saying. And I think we have been.
Right, we have not.
Because we have not made any decisions,
Right.
like we've told everybody, and again, I think we did the same thing. We told Mr. Long on a recent conversation that we're not accepting any until we decide what piece of land we need for our needs. whether it's for the Public Works, the Redemption Center,
That parcel is way in the back.
Dave, we keep talking about the parcel being in the back. I've been here almost a year and a half, and we haven't done anything with it, right?
Greg, I agree.
Well, it's being studied.
And the second part of this is if we're not going to do anything with it, then fix the Public Works that we have right on the lot that it's on, and sell all the land.
Okay. My question is, so Mr. Long already owns plot 109, lots 734 through 742. Is that correct?
Yes. I believe that is correct.
You believe, but is it correct?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. So this is no additional lots.
We're not selling, right, right.
We're not selling them, we're not selling them anyway.
Not that we're selling him, but he's not asking them to support putting in an additional lot that he does not own.
Right. But that doesn't mean that he can't subdivide his current lots into different
Correct,
lots.
but
right.
as
And
long-
that would go before the planning board.
That would.
Well, that would go for, it could be, it's only a
No.
subdivision, so it'd probably go administratively.
Planner.
To the planner. Because
All right.
it's not more than one lot.
I just want to make sure that it's the lots here.
Directly from Rhode Island Ready, from the Rhode Island Ready program.
I'm just going to read it. Go ahead.
The Quonset Development Corporation. They administer the program, but will not move forward with developing any site without approval from the host city or town. The municipality must opt in to enroll its industrial zone properties into the program. Once enrolled, developers must still navigate the complete the standard local permitting, zoning, and planning board approval processes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So if they apply for Rhode Island Ready accepts them, and then the planning board says this doesn't fit for whatever reason, then they just get rid of the application, they just...
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
how do we,
Thank you.
no, but like, I think that's with anything we're going through. We're seeing that right now with developments on Sousa Road. Like, we're going to have issues, and the planning board's going to say no, and the state's going to come down and say yes. And
Oh, hold on. We don't
Well,
know.
let's-
We do not know what the planning board is going to do.
no, I would agree. But what I'm saying is we're having issues with any development. I shouldn't name that one.
Let me be clear. Anybody has a right to either disagree or appeal the decision of the planning board or the zoning board. I don't want anyone to suggest, and I know this wasn't your intent, the planning board has not made a decision on any project that it's currently before that we've heard. Right. So, again, it's very important that we make that very clear. There's been no decision by the planning board because they just finished a public hearing on it. I see the chairperson getting up. However, yes, is there a risk that a developer would not be approved on any project, whether we're on ready or yes, and if they're denied, there's an appeal process. If neighbors don't like the approval of the planning board or the zoning board, there's an appeal process that can go through. So the answer is, I forgot my train of thought. My answer is the answer is that yes, it has to go through the planning board process. Now, however, subdividing a lot, making one big lot, which is currently in dividing it, that's administratively under state
Right.
law. And the planning board, just can't deny a project. It's criteria.
Right, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying if legitimate reasons and it just doesn't meet
If it doesn't comply with zoning
right,
or whatever, right.
For anything. So there is an application fee. I mean, it's not a big fee. It's like $1,500 a lot or something, or a plot. But they would be responsible for that.
Correct.
We would not be responsible for those application fees if it was turned down because it didn't meet zoning or whatever regulations it just didn't meet.
I'm assuming, and I don't know, and again, I believe Councilman Burke at one point was suggesting the entire industrial park be put into the Rhode Island Ready program, and there was right, and there was
We
pushback from that.
discussed it, yeah.
So again, it's an application process. There's no guarantee that anybody will be accepted in this process. But I want to make it very clear. It's only there's two applicants before us. They're looking. One of the requirements is that they get a letter of support from the local community. That doesn't mean a letter of support means the project goes through. It just means at this point we're willing to support their application process. That's all it is.
Thank you for the help on clarifying what I was trying to say.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay.
I just wanted to make the record clear. That's all.
Please.
If I could just ask for clarification, I received a copy of the Quonset Development Corporation meeting that they had in April 28th, 2026, and it outlines several maps.
and it seemed to imply, I haven't read the whole thing, that various parcels within the PDP and outside of it were accepted into a program. The application was submitted, and it looks like many lots were approved. So all I'm going to ask is if the town council could get clarification of the lots that were applied for, that were approved by
Is that on the internet?
this corporation before you proceed. It has the application, it has the information here.
What year is that, Sharon?
This year, April 2026.
What's the
If you
title
could
of the
just
document?
gather additional information before.
No, they administer the Ready program.
Quonset Development Corporation, and it's
Yeah.
Rhode Island Ready.
And they have lots in there that pick up.
If I could just have this.
Does it say who applied for them?
Yes. It's
If you guys look at the
It's
first,
individual people, correct?
one person.
if you guys look at
I'd rather
the
have you read that.
letter, the first letter that you guys have for support, the other one is Lynch. The first one's Lynch. It's 70 acres at the end of industrial. That's the first letter of support, and then the second one's for Longplex.
He wasn't approved. He was denied. I understood that was denied. We do know about
I don't know. I mean, again, this is the first time that these letters have, they wouldn't be before us if they didn't need the support of the town administrator. So,
But that was for a different project, I think.
I think it was for the projects that he's already in, right?
there was, that's right.
Remember?
Yes, there was I believe that there was, again, I don't want to speculate, but
Right,
I'm
but
going to
he was-
speculate. It was for the Iceplex complex, and that was not an approved use.
Right, and it was denied.
That's right.
Okay.
That I do remember hearing that, but okay.
Yes.
So the two letters are before us. Do we have any more questions on the letters, or do we have a motion to direct the administrator to provide the letters of support to Rhode Island Ready regarding the two properties? A motion, yes.
I'm motion to approve both letters under the understanding that these are these individual lots and not the entire industrial park.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Are you the all right ready guy?
All right, so
Let it go.
moving on. Next, I'd
We're never
like
gonna
to
get
make a
through
motion
this.
to go into close executive session. Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, General Litigation Updates, and Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465A5 regarding lease for cell tower with Crown Castle. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by several. Councilor Comito.
Yes.
Councilor Burke.
Yes.
Councilor Janik.
Yes.
Councilor Demidaris.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilor Paul.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
We are now in closed executive session.